All right, y'all, let's talk about how to actually get rich without relying on luck. Let's get into it. All right, a lot of people think that they need luck in order to make some type of money, start making like a significant amount of money without relying on 9 to 5. And I feel like that is a very bad mentality to have because you are subconsciously programming your mind with the wrong programming, right? So, in order to actually start making money without luck, it starts with literally, believe that you can do it and not thinking that, if you're making money, the only type of people that's making money or successful without, these 9 to 5 or these streams that you don't currently have is like lucky, because that's not really true at all. It's about hard work, and it's about having the right vehicle, the right business model, essentially, right? That's what I mean by vehicle. All right, so I'm gonna break down everything you need to know in order to actually have the right vehicle in order to start making the kind of money that you want to make without the luck. All right, let's get right into it. All right, so let's actually peel back the curtains, peel back the layers, and look at one of the things that has made people the richest. Not in a overnight, but for sure one of the things that's made people very successful over time if they stay consistent and they do it correctly. And that first thing would be real estate, right? We always know that real estate is known to make the most millionaires. We all know that. It might be changing now, with the internet, with the Wi-Fi money and stuff like that. But as of right now, it is real estate. So that is one of the best ways to actually invest your money into. One of the best things you can invest your money into over long term and actually be rich and be successful, right? So you might be wondering, how do I start real estate, right? And of course, it's gonna require you to have some type of capital. I know there's a lot of people talking about, oh, you can start real estate with no money, but that's not even sustainable, because guess what? There is ups and downs when it comes to real estate. Like, for example, if you have rental properties and your tenant do not pay the rent, guess what? Yeah, you started with no money, and now guess what? You're probably about to get foreclosed on because you didn't have no money to start with, right? So to be safer, it's better to have that safety net and save some money. Now, saving money is gonna be a lot more harder or easier depending on your current situation. I'm not gonna, say that it's gonna be easy for everybody. It might be more difficult for certain people, depending on your current living situation and like whether you have a kid or not, right? But I'll break down how I was able to even save my first $10,000 or even $20,000, literally my early 20s. Actually, before I was even 20 years old, right? Saving my first $15,000 like 19, I believe, something like that, right around that age, right? Or like 20, around that age. But yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing you want to do is make sure you are staying with parents, staying with family, because one of the best ways to save money is by having lower expenses, right? If you're working a traditional 9 to 5, you're barely making enough money to get by. If you're paying rent, right? If you're paying rent by yourself and you don't have a roommate of some sort or some roommates, that's gonna be extremely difficult. So if you have your own apartment, you have your own place, go get a roommate if you have a second bedroom or something, or rent out your living room space. Because guess what? What you need to do, right, is not just trying to make more money. You need to also try to save as much money as possible. Every single dime is going to count in this stage, right? You need to go 6 months to a year trying to save as much money as possible. You may be thinking, oh, that's really hard. That's going to be really difficult. But guess what? The time is going to pass anyway. The time is going to pass anyway. So if you don't do it, you're still going to be in the same exact position as you was a year ago. So whether it's going to take 6 months, take 1 year, it does not matter. You're still going to be in the same exact position if you don't do what I'm telling you. All right. So just suck it up and be prepared to save for the next 6 months to a year to actually get to, you don't have it, just however long it takes you to reach the income goal or the savings goal that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, right? But you want to be able to lock in, and like I said, the easiest way to save as much money as possible is to lower your monthly expenses. How can you do that? If you're living with parents, if you're a renter, of course you can just up and run, oh, I'm gonna go live with parents, because guess what, you still got to pay this lease. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna stop paying this, because then guess what, it's gonna ruin one of the things we need for this plan, which is gonna be your credit. All right. So you're gonna go ahead and try to save as much money as possible. And how I would recommend you do this is by looking at breaking out your expenses, looking at your monthly expenses, and looking at every single thing that you are spending money on every single month, and cut off the wants, right? Because there's three primary things that people live with. Is we have the needs, the wants, and savings, right? So emergency fund or like fun stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's all. Actually, no, just saving. Let's say savings, right? So this is called the 50-30-20 rule, essentially, right? 50% of your income is for your needs, 30% for your wants, and 20% is for saving and investing. Is kind of where we want to go, right? So you can try to save as much money as possible. In this particular situation, you'll try to save as much money as possible. But if you're not saving at least 20%, that is absolutely horrible. If you're not saving at least 20%, because you need to try to save as much money as possible. So I guess we have to cut off some of your needs, because guess what? Your wants are probably not 50% of your income. It's probably more like 60%, right? Maybe 70%, depending on how much money you want, right? So try to lower your needs. Try to lower your needs as much as possible. If you can cut off like your monthly income for your monthly payment for your rent by literally living with your parents, or having a roommate live with you for that period of time, to six to 12 months. That's going to be a tremendous money saver, right? The thing that's going to be the most expensive thing in your life is going to be your living situation. So if you can cut that down by doing that, you guys are splitting on utilities and stuff like that, would be the best possible thing. And if you're somebody who's blessed to not have to pay rent, or you're in a position like, hey, my lease is coming up, I'm just gonna move in with parents for a little bit, and they're not gonna charge me rent, that would be absolutely amazing. It would be hard times just for that period of time, but that's a hard times make strong people, right? I don't want to say hard times make hard people, but it might sound all right. But yeah, hard times make strong people. So you need to make sure you go through that so you can elevate to that next point, right? And then during this time as well too, what you need to be doing is work on your credit. So if you have any negative accounts, what you need to do is use credit repair AI softwares like Dispute Beast or KM Elite Credit System, KM Elite Credit System, right? Or like I said, Dispute Beast. You can use AI softwares like that to remove any negative items on your credit report. So negative items like charge-offs, so that's like repos, late payments, collections, things like evictions, anything that is hindering your credit from being at that 700, make sure you actually take care of that, because part of the real estate, one of the things you can leverage is your credit. You don't need to have all the capital. You can leverage credit as well too, all right? So go ahead and leverage your credit. Phone had just died, so I had to go grab my charger right quick. But yeah, like I said, make sure you're leveraging your credit. One of the most detrimental things you can do is not get your credit in order. You cannot escape credit. You need credit in order to buy a house, buy a car, or do a lot of different things, rent, apartment, even a lot of times. They're going to check your credit. Unless like a friend or family member, whatever the case may be, right? So make sure you got your credit in order. If you don't know anything about credit, go to my main YouTube channel. Search up Real Melanin King. I have a whole playlist literally going over 2 hours talking about credit, 1 hour, 30-minute videos, 10-minute videos, breaking out every single segment, whatever you need, man. No excuse. Make sure you learn the credit algorithm. And what you want to do during this time too is also, I highly recommend you get an LLC. The reason why I recommend you get an LLC is because guess what? When we're trying to invest into real estate, you don't want to start putting this stuff into your personal name, because real estate gets really, really expensive over time. When it comes to actually maintaining these units, everything of that sort. So what you can do is actually put all these things into your business name. You can do things in your business name, or even if you don't even put in your business name, because your business will probably be relatively new, what you can do is you can use some of those cards and get right off, actually leveraging your business as something. It's literally 1 a.m. right now. I can't even think, and I'm not cutting this, right? Only the part that actually went off, right? But essentially, say for example, you have your business and you create an LLC, right? So when you actually get a credit card, what's happening is they give you lower limits when you start off with your credit cards and everything of that sort, with your personal credit limit. And if you get a business credit card, they give you higher limits, and it does not report to your actual credit profile. Meaning, guess what? Every single time you swipe the credit card, it's not going to be in your credit profile. It's not going to be in your credit, your personal credit. It's going to be in your business side of the credit, and it does not show up on the personal side. All right. And then what you can do is you're going to have higher limits, so you can actually use some of those to actually purchase all the stuff you need for your real estate property. So when it comes to rehab, all those things, fixing certain things, you put that all on business credit card. And also on top of that, like I said, on top of having those higher limits, you can leverage all of that too, and it's a tax write-off, so you can really maximize the write-offs and everything of that sort, because you have everything tracked on your actual business side of things, right? But having your credit right is gonna give you access to a lot of things, like say being able to get high limit business funding for your business, right? You can get business lines of credits, you can get the credit cards, of course, 0% interest, and of course you can go to Amex. You can literally get a charge card, 0% interest for 6 months, if they run that promo, or you can get one of their regular credit cards, have 12 months, no interest, right? So go get you an Amex card, and that's one of the credit cards you can have. Make sure you got that on the personal side, of course, and you have that on the business side, of course, as well too. And with Amex, why I love Amex, why I'm saying Amex specifically, American Express, is because of the fact that if you have Amex does not pull your credit once you're in their family. Right now, if you're a complete beginner, you have no credit cards at all, it's gonna be a lot harder to get Amex. So that would be only for people who have a couple credit cards in the belt already. That's why I recommend you want to go for the Blue Cash or Blue Cash Preferred. Go ahead and get one of those cards, and you're good to go. You can start off with one of the entry cards, and that'll be a good way to kind of enter into the Amex family, right? That'll be a good one. If you're not in the Amex family and you are completely new to credit, then I'll just go more on the Chase side. You can get a Chase bank account, open up one of their student credit cards if you are in college, or if you're not in college, open up one of their Slate cards, one of their beginner entry cards. You can do the Chase Freedom Flex or Chase Freedom Unlimited. All right, so get a couple of these cards under your belt. Go get a Discover card, get a couple of these cards under your belt, and kind of exercise that, kind of use that, spend some of the money and pay it off by the end of the month completely in full. Now, there's something called your close date and your statement due date, right? Your statement due date and your close date. You need to know these two dates. Essentially, briefly, I'll give you a rundown of what it is. Your due date is going to be the date that the bank tells you, hey, we need this due by, or we're going to start adding interest on top of that. And then your close date is the date that they report it to the credit bureaus. The credit bureaus are who are in charge of your actual credit score. So that's when they know, hey, you have this much on your credit card you need to pay off. That's when they know, right? But those are two separate dates. They're typically 7 days apart. It's always going to be first, it's going to be your due date and then your close date, because you pay them and then they report it to your credit bureaus 3 to 7 days after, or 1 to 7 days after you actually make that payment, right? The reason why I need to know these 2 days is because if you was to pay off your credit card completely in full by the due date, but you start putting some spend on it, right, within those 7-day grace period, depending on whatever the date is, right, you have to make sure you call the bank, you look into your credit monitoring, so you can actually see when the dates they're reporting. But if you put some spend on it, say, for example, you max it out 100%, they're going to report 100% payment history, 100% utilization to that credit bureaus, and they'll be like, yo, hold on, you're maxing out your credit card when it's like you're really paid off in full by the due date, but then you put some spend on it again. All right, so you need to make sure within that grace period before they actually report it, you don't put spend on it, or you don't go over 10%. I know a lot of people say 30%, but don't go over 10%. All right, that's what I'm telling you. All right, so once you have that, because guess what? In order to get your first real estate property, you're gonna need good credit. You're gonna need good credit. All right, so now we talking, you building your credit at the same time. You building your credit, you knocking off any negative accounts within 1 year, 100%. 100%, you're gonna be good. Let me say 99.9%. Let me say that you're gonna be good as far as if you do everything I'm telling you. You're going to have no negative items on your credit report. You're going to have a decent credit profile. If you have no credit at all right now, you're going to have a decent credit profile, good enough to be able to go get a house, and on top of the fact that you're going to have some savings as well, too. And the money we're trying to save within this year is anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, right? So if $20,000 sounds insane, let's try to at least save $15,000. How you can save that $15,000? Doing overtime, you're lowering your monthly expenses and you're increasing your monthly income. All right, so you're gonna lower your monthly expense to increase your monthly income. It's gonna be uncomfortable, but guess what? Comfort is the enemy of success. We're trying to get you to be successful, be rich and wealthy. All right, go ahead, save up $10,000, $15,000. Worst case scenario, $10,000 saved up, because you need to make sure you can go get a decent property. All right, so 10 to 15,000, $20,000 best. All right, so worst case scenario, $10,000. Decent, you did good, is 15,000. Excellent is $20,000. If you can't save up $10,000 within 6 months to a year, that's absolute trash. And like I said, depending on your situation, you have a son, you have kids, whatever the case may be, it's gonna be a little bit more harder. But guess what? If your job don't have OT, get either a second job. If you can't even get a second job, at least start doing DoorDash. All right, doing DoorDash, you have your own freedom. You can save some of that money. You can make a little bit of extra money. Say you make extra $1,000 a month off DoorDash, which you can literally do just picking up weekend shifts, whatever case may be, doing DoorDash or after work. You save that money. Anything that's from DoorDash, you save that. So if it makes it easy, you have an additional income stream, because if you have that additional income stream, check it as all this is additional. So you can have a separate bank account to make it even better. Have a separate bank account with no debit card. Cut up the debit card. Get a second bank account, cut up the debit card, or sit it somewhere, give it to your mom or something, right? Do not touch it. Lock that debit card. Whatever you need to do so you don't use it, do that. And then all the money from that second income stream is going straight to this bank account. Save that. By the end of the year, you should have anywhere from $10,000, $20,000 for sure, if you actually lock in and do what I'm telling you to do, right? So if you can do it within 6 months, even better. We have a year. I'm giving you a year. All right, so after you do that, you want to go ahead and apply for an FHA loan, right? An FHA loan is going to allow you to put 3.5% down. So you're not going to use the full 10,000, because you can get a first-time home. You can also do a first-time home buyer program. I'm sure they still have those, but you want to ask for a first-time home buyer program, which a lot of time they give you credits, and this can be upwards of 50% discount on your first property. So say, for example, now they're asking for 3.5% down, and out of the 3.5%, you pay 50% of that. So that's cutting it down even in half, right? That's what I did for my first property, and I ended up only paying $6,000. I ended up being $6,000 down for a property that was $300,000, right? So you want to go, I said 3.5% down, and then what you want to do is you want to cut it in half, use the home buyer program. It could be a little bit more, it could be a little bit less, about the percentages, everything like that. So FHA loan, first time home buyers program, boom, that's your first time buying home. They split it in half, or what the percentages, you're good to go, whatever the credits are, and you can negotiate closing costs, everything that's squared. Like all the additional fees and everything, you can wrap certain things with your actual mortgage, and talk about all of that. They give you a monthly fee. And then I want you to, of course, make sure you're working with a real estate agent, get you a good property. Make sure you do not skip out on the inspection of the property. Some people skip out on inspection so you can close on a house property. They can close on the property quicker, but don't skip out on inspection. All right. So you're gonna go ahead, use that, leverage that. So now we have good credit. We save up $10,000 to $20,000, and then you put down a small fraction of, let's say you put down $5,000, right? And you save the $10,000. Worst case scenario, you save $10,000. I bet now you have $5,000 more to go. Now, guess what? We're still going to be saving money at this time. All right, we're still not going to just completely stop. But now you have $5,000, and what you want to do is, of course, you can have the real estate agent either help you get somebody in that property, or you can get somebody in there yourself, friend, whatever case may be, family member. What I mean by that is essentially is like you want to try to get somebody in there along with you, of course, stay in the property, right? So I want you to stay in the property, right? So you're going to make sure you move into the property, but you want to get somebody else in there as well too, to be like a roommate. So don't get a 1-bedroom, right? Make sure you get a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom house. Get somebody else in there as well too, so you can actually rent one of the rooms, and you're going to do something called house hacking, all right? So like I said, you can have the real estate agent help you get somebody in there, or you can do friends or family, and then get somebody in there with you, and then do something called house hacking. I want you to live in this property, right? You're going to live in there for a year, and then after you live in it for a year, then you're going to do that all over again. So for the next year, you're going to save as well, and then do that all over again. And then once you move from this property, what you're going to do is you're going to rent it out completely, all right? So first you're going to be partially renting out because you're living there, but then you bounce to the next one, and then you're going to put somebody else in that where you were. You can actually either have the person that's staying there take over the master bedroom, which is where you was at, and then rent out the other bedroom, right? So if it was 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, you make sure all the rooms are rented out, and you move on to the next one, and you're gonna rinse and repeat that. You do that 3, 4, 5 years. Guess what? You're now at 3 properties to 5 properties now. If you do that every single year, and then boom, you're good to go to just keep rinse and repeating. I want to say that it is 1 year that you have to live in a property for. Like I said, my brain is not braining right now. It's literally like super late right now, like 12 a.m. or something like that. I gotta look at the time. But yeah, leverage that. You're gonna be good. Literally leverage that right there. You're gonna be good. Now you have good credit. You're able to buy a house. Of course, you can't use that first time home buyer program again. So make sure you have the money saved up. You can go ahead and move on to the next one, and then you're gonna be house hacking. And then now every single time you move out, you get an additional $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month, $2,500 a month for rent, for actually charging people to actually live there. Of course, that's an additional $500. You can say extra $300, $500 per month, an additional for you as passive income stream, and that's how you build wealth off of that, right? The second, now this end up being extremely long, right? The second thing you can do to build wealth would be, or another thing you can do to build wealth, another easy thing you can do is to build wealth without actually getting lucky or anything, without relying on luck, is to just build a skill set. So find something that you're passionate about. If you're someone who likes to go to the gym, whatever case may be, just build a skill set of something you're interested in and sell that skill set. So if you are great with fitness, you're really great working out, guess what? Sell online fitness coaching, right? Start coaching people on the thing that you're actually good at. And if you can grow an audience, you can get a lot of people who are interested in that. You can do a lot of marketing, whether you're running ads or doing organic marketing. You can then charge for that skill set, right? I don't go too much in depth about that one because I made so many videos about that, but just kind of throw that in there. The main thing I wanted to talk about was just the real estate, because I don't ever really talk about real estate, and real estate is really underrated. That's one of the best ways to build wealth. And literally in 2026, I'm buying so many properties actually in Ghana is what I'm doing, right? So I'm gonna be buying 5 properties next year in Ghana. Like anywhere from probably any like investment opportunities, like properties and businesses is what I'm gonna be doing. All right, but hope y'all enjoy this. Actually implement this information and you're gonna be good. I catch y'all.